When we think of pain, we usually don't associate it with anything positive, and rightfully so. Pain can be excruciating and debilitating. It can limit our mobility and cause us to miss out on things that we want to do. Chronic pain can lead to depression and anxiety, and for some people, the pain never goes away. But what if I told you that pain is one of the most important things that has shaped human evolution? What if I told you that pain is essential to who we are? That's right. Pain changes who we are. In fact, we could say that pain is one of the things that makes us human. When humans first started to walk upright about 6 million years ago, our brains started to grow in size. This gave us the ability to use language, plan for the future, and become more social creatures. But there was a trade-off. As our brains grew, so did our risk of injury. With our head now separated from our torso at the top of a vertical spine, our brain was much more vulnerable than it had been when we were still hanging around in trees. This would have been a problem for early humans if it weren't for pain. When we get hurt, pain tells us that something is wrong and motivates us to take action. Pain tells us to stop doing whatever it is that's causing the pain so that we can rest, protect the injured area, and heal. Without pain, we would not have survived. For example, let's say you cut your finger while making breakfast. The pain tells you that something is wrong. You look down and see that you are bleeding. You then take action to stop the bleeding and protect the wound. If you didn't feel pain, you might not have noticed that you were bleeding and you could have bled to death. The same way pain helps protect us from other dangers. Let's say you touch something hot, like a stove burner. The pain tells you that something is wrong and motivates you to pull your hand away from the hot surface. If you didn't feel pain, you could have burned yourself and possibly gone into shock or died. Now, imagine if you had a small injury that didn't require stitches, like a scrape or a bruise. The pain might go away after a few days, but without treatment, the wound would get infected and you would die. So even though the pain is no longer there, you still need to take action to protect yourself from infection. Pain helps us do this by making us feel itchy. Itching is actually a type of pain. It's just a different kind of pain that tells us that our skin is not intact and that we need to protect ourselves from infection. That's why we scratch when we feel itchy. By scratching, we are exposing ourselves to more germs, but we do this to protect ourselves from infection. So as you can see, pain is essential to our survival. But it doesn't just help us survive, it also helps us thrive. For example, pain is what allows us to learn from our mistakes. Let's say you're trying to learn how to ride a bike. When you fall, the pain tells you that something is wrong. You then try to learn from your mistake and make adjustments, so that you don't fall next time. Without pain, you wouldn't be able to learn from your mistakes, and you would never be able to ride a bike. The same thing happens when we learn new skills or when we meet new people. When we do something that is uncomfortable or challenging, pain tells us that we need to pay attention. We then try to learn from the experience and make adjustments, so that we can do better next time. Without pain, we would never be able to learn or grow. Not only that, but pain also helps us connect with others. When we see someone in pain, we know that they need help. We then provide them with the necessary support so that they can heal and recover. Without pain, we would not be able to empathize with others or build relationships. Of course, pain can be unpleasant and even unbearable at times. But it is important to remember that pain is not always a bad thing. In fact, pain is what makes us human. It is what allows us to learn, grow, and connect with others. As I said at the beginning of the video, when we think of pain, we usually don't associate it with anything positive, and rightfully so. Pain can be excruciating and debilitating, can limit our mobility and cause us to miss out on things that we want to do. Chronic pain can lead to depression and anxiety. And for some people, the pain never goes away. Even though pain is sometimes bad, it's also good because it forces us to take care of ourselves. We need to eat, drink, and sleep because these things are good for us. But sometimes life gets in the way and we forget to take care of ourselves. Pain reminds us that we need to take care of ourselves so that we can live happy and healthy lives. For example, imagine that you have a toothache. The pain reminds you that you need to brush and floss your teeth so that you can keep them clean and healthy. If you didn't feel pain, you could end up with cavities or even lose a tooth. Or imagine that you have a headache. The pain reminds you that you need to drink water and rest so that you can recover. If you didn't feel pain, you could end up dehydrated or exhausted. So as you can see, pain is good because it reminds us that we need to take care of ourselves. But sometimes the pain is too much to bear, and it can feel like life isn't worth living. When we feel this way, it's important to reach out for help. There are people who care about us and want to help us through our pain. There are also resources available to help us cope with pain, such as medication, physical therapy, and counseling. It is important that we don't suffer in silence. If you are struggling with pain, please reach out for help. There are people who care about you and want to help you. There are also resources available to help you cope with pain, such as medication, physical therapy, and counseling. It is important that you don't suffer in silence. Pain changes who we are in a lot of ways. It makes us stronger, more resilient, and more compassionate. It helps us grow and change. It brings us closer to others. Of course, pain is not always pleasant, but it is an important part of life. It is what makes us human. If you feel like you're going through too much pain, please reach out for help. You don't have to go through this alone. There are people who care about you and want to help you. There are also resources available to help you cope with pain, such as medication, physical therapy, and counseling. It is important that you don't suffer in silence. When we feel pain, it's easy to focus on the negative. It's easy to feel like life isn't worth living when we are in a lot of pain. But it's important to remember that pain is also good. Pain is what makes us human. It's what makes us strong, resilient, and compassionate. It's what allows us to grow and change. It's what brings us closer to others. So the next time you feel pain, take a deep breath and remember that you're not alone. There are people who care about you and want to help you. And there are also resources available to help you cope with pain, such as medication, physical therapy, and counseling. Don't suffer in silence. Reach out for help today. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so that you never miss an upload from us. We would love to have you join our community. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.